Mwokozi kwa kifungo cha upendo, hata kufa kuwezi kunitenga naye Yesu. Mimi wake siku zote, ninataka kumtii. Kwa neema nimepona, nisitumikie
Very nice to meet you, Anthony. How have you been? Yes.
Hello.
Mimi niko salama, labda wewe? Yes. Nashukuru Mungu. Kiti ama mwili? Thank you.
Welcome to our first episode, Humanitarian Community Connect Media. Our first interviewer is a great man, is a great humanitarian, and he has a great story. Welcome, Bishop.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and very nice to have you and to have me in the studio.
Great. Tell us who you are.
Thank you. My name is Bishop David Munyiri Thagana. I'm actually born in Kenya and live in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm born in Nyeri, Karatina. I've grown in Nyandarua County. My work as a high school teacher, I taught in my own county, Karimagaos High School, on the slopes of Aberdare Mountains in Kinangop, that's Nyandarua County. And while I was teaching there, God birthed a vision in me for a ministry which is called GOA, or Glory Outreach Assembly. And so the ministry has grown, and since that was in 1991. So when I went to start teaching there on 1st of April 1988, having graduated and posted there by teachers. So the students that I taught in Karema Girls High School for 10 years, and some of them are likely to be online because wherever I go I meet them. We really bonded together as a patron of the Christian Union, as a teacher, as a sports person, as a teacher of English and Christian religious education, as a teacher of physical education. So we bonded with those students, and after 10 years I had to leave teaching because the ministry of GOA had grown very much. And when I left teaching and focused primarily on GOA, then I had to move to Nairobi, where currently I live. My office is at GOA Kahawa Wendani in Nairobi, and I live in Thome. So I am a Nairobi person. Other than that, I am a married man, and I am blessed to be serving in the ministry with my children. I am also a grandfather, and I am blessed to be able to honor and to see my grandchildren. I have 5 of them right now, and that is from the biological children. But I have many more grandchildren through the children that I have raised in the children's homes. Because, and I know we'll be talking about ministry,
Yes.
so I'll be able to help you understand and help the viewer understand how I am talking of having more than biological grandchildren. We'll come to that later.
Yes.
But basically, I am the founder and the presiding bishop of Glory Outreach Assembly. I am also the general secretary of the Federation of Evangelical and Indigenous Christian Churches of Kenya. That is all the evangelical churches that are indigenous in Kenya. I'm the general secretary, and we'll be talking about that too and what our role is in that. And I am also the international director of International Leadership Institute for all the countries that speak English and Swahili in the entire continent of Africa. So that makes me travel to different parts of Africa and to do some work. And given the opportunity, we can talk about that too. So in a nutshell, I think that's whom I am. But right now, I am also becoming a businessman.
Yes.
So, so in addition to all that, I am right now becoming a businessman. I am learning 1 or 2 businesses here and there, primarily because I want the Ministry of GOA to start thinking about sustainable ways of supporting the work that we do, which I believe that we will talk about that work. So because of that desire to want the ministry to become sustainable in the future, I personally have engaged in business ideas and looking for businessmen and women who can open up my mind in that space of business, entrepreneurs, because that is not where I have been. I've been in the field of education, I've been in the field of clergy, and now I feel it is a season to move the organization also, in addition to that, towards sustainability.
Wow.
Particularly, we have actually started real estate already, and we can talk about that later, and we are looking for partners towards that. So I'm a businessman also, and personally, as a person, I'm also engaging in transport industry.
Wow.
I've just started small, but for now I only have just 2 buses that are carrying people along Nairobi CBD to Kagudo.
Wow.
So that is the other side of me, which I really don't talk much about. But there is much more. I hope that's a short summary of who Bishop David Munyiri Thagana is. And for purposes of more knowing me more, I am available in all the social media. Anywhere. One can just go to my YouTube at Bishop David Munyiri Thagana, and from my YouTube at Bishop David Munyiri Thagana, you'll even be able to see my humble beginnings,
Yes.
which I believe we'll talk about.
Yes.
I am also available on Facebook, even Bishop David Munyiri Thagana. So all those social medias, Twitter, I mean everything, Instagram, TikTok, everything. I'm in all those. I am a public figure and in the public domain. So my story is there. I actually also have a personal website, which is davidthagana.com. So somebody can find out that. Plus the other websites of GOA,
Yes.
GOAweb.org, GOA USA. So basically that's whom I am.
Wow. Wow. Yes. I think you have talked about a humble beginning. Would like to hear that more so that we may see this man. Maybe our viewers, they'll come to know and have a picture who is Bishop Thagana is. This man has really done tremendous things. He has impacted many lives, and that is why Bishop, give us your humble beginning. Let it be. Let us see it, how it was from when you are young, from your family, from the nuclear family.
Thank you for that opportunity, Anthony. I think that's a long story, and
I know.
and we can just introduce it for today. But a book is coming. We are finishing the book in December.
Wow.
And we are going to launch the book on my birthday on 9th of March next year. So that story is already being put into a book. But again, as I said earlier, I am born in Karatina. Anybody watching who know Karatina town is very near the hospital. There's a hospital for the district hospital. There is also, it is next to the veterinary, that's where animals are actually treated. So if you just take the route towards the Kiarithaini,
Yes.
the very first, I think the fourth piece of land, Iriaini location there, that's where our home is. We are near what used to be the initial campus of Karatina University. Initial, even before that, it used to be Liver Bank. I think many people know it very much because of my neighbor there, the late Karungaro, and his daughter who is in the politics, Margaret, who was associated with the first governor of Nyeri County, and currently also in the same line with the deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. So that neighborhood is where my home is. And there, if you ask the Thagana family, everybody will tell you. So I was actually born in that area from a very humble background. Our family lives in that area. Has lived in that area. My grandparents, I was fortunate enough to be able to see my grandparents, both from my father and my mother's side. We were really needed in the real sense of the word. Sometimes I avoid using the word poor, but it is the right English word. Or humble to be spiritual, but but all I'm saying, whether we use the word humble beginning,
Yes.
or poor according to grammar, or needy, but we came from such a family, whichever way one would want to describe it. And when I say that, I'm talking of moving from that particular location of the Iriaini location home and walking to Kiamwangi Primary School there in Karatina, barefoot, for both nursery and primary, no shoe, sometimes no food to eat, sometimes, I mean, just barely poor, and wearing the same uniform throughout the 7 days a week. And when I was growing up, I grew to hate poverty with a lot of passion. And including today, I hate poverty with a lot of passion. And because I could see some children who are doing very well. I could see children who are well up, children who are actually wasting whatever they had, whatever we thought to us would be precious. And I desired that I too would belong to such a family. But I could not change my situation. But therefore I started asking myself how I could make my situation better in the future, and how probably in the future I would also change the lives of other people when I get that opportunity. When I was in class 2 in Kiamwangi Primary School,
Yes.
I was already thinking about how I can change the lives of our family, and also the life of other people. At class 2,
Yes.
I was thinking of how can I make things better, so that I'm thinking like a boy that time. I was thinking about how can I make our family have shoes, how can I make sure that there are no other children who do not walk barefoot like me. How can I make sure that we eat meat, because meat was very precious and we were only getting the smell from the neighbors. How could I was thinking along those lines of food, clothes, both my life and others.
Yes.
And of course my father was a hawker in Nairobi City. So we never got to spend much time with him hawking those years. Very risky. So we spent a lot of time with our mother and
Yes.
grew there. So I really was thinking of how can I also change at least her life, because I used to see her wearing the same dress every day and night for a whole week, a nylon dress. And I would see sometimes, because we would sit around the fire, I would see if the sparks of the fire got into her dress, then it would start burning. And I would ask myself, how can I change this situation? So that is the kind of background that I grew in, needy, poor, thinking about, instead of mourning and pity party about crying all the time, what can I do? So in class 2, I don't know whether God gave me an idea. I don't know whether I just thought. I don't know how to call it or where it came from. But I thought that I see many people transporting their food to the Karatina market, because Karatina market is very close to where we are.
Wow.
And I would see people pushing their wheelbarrow with taking their cabbage, their bananas, their things to the market, and they would come back with bread, and sometimes they would come back with meat, and they would be talking about how they sold their cabbage or their farm products, and how they have bought the things that I desire that we have. So at class 2, I thought, what if I also started planting cabbages at that time? So I said, let me plant one, because that is what was within my reach. So I planted one cabbage, a sugar cabbage that grows like this, like a pyramid kind of. And the sugar, and I would come from school and water it, go to my grandfather's a place where he keeps his cows and get some manure and put on it and water it and water it. Finally the cabbage grew, and I said, now it's time to go to the market like anybody else in Karatina market. And I went to the market, I took the cabbage and sold it on a Saturday for 75 cents.
Wow.
Now,
but that time,
that was a lot of money by that time.
That is what?
That was 1972.
Wow.
And you know, I felt rich, I felt a millionaire, I felt a businessman, I felt a great farmer. I began to feel like I own my own money now, 75 cents. But you know, the mind of a child was still thinking about food, clothes, things like that. And the mind of a child at that age, class 2, I was not thinking that money will ever get finished. I thought it will be there forever. Luckily enough, this was the early part of 1972, and we were going to move from Karatina to Laisheri in Daragwa in Nyandarua County in August. So now I was saying, should I hold on to this money so that when we are we're moving, and we are moving completely to go and be living in Nyandarua. The reasons for moving, we can talk about that another day, because
Yes.
that is because of was because of the in-law conflicts.
I think you put it in your book.
It is in my book. Somebody
Okay.
can. It's actually a whole chapter
Okay.
of how the conflict, the in-law conflict between my grandparents and my mother, while my father was still working in Nairobi, how that made my father decide that the only way to solve this is to move my family, because I cannot move my. Actually, those were his words, because he said, instead of every time I come from Nairobi, you are talking about the problems, and I can't move my family, my parents. It is you that I can move.
Okay.
So he moved us to Raisheri, and I was in class 2. So on 28th of August, 1972, we woke up very early and boarded the only bus
Wow.
that was commuting from Karatina to Nyahururu. It
Yes.
was called Travelers Bus.
Uh-huh.
It was the only bus.
The only bus.
Travelers. And you had to go to be in Karatina by 3 a.m. to board it, because everybody along the way was waiting for it to go to Nyahururu. And we packed all our things. Remember, I am aware of the man now. I have 75 cents in my pocket. And I am listening to the conversations about how the journey will be from Karatina to Nyahururu. And people are saying, if we had money, like the other people who are wealthy, that bus normally stops at a place called Gobet, and people come out and they buy meat. So I'm hearing people saying, if we have money, I wish we had money, we would buy meat like anybody else. So I'm keeping quiet, and I know I have money. Long story short, the bus stopped at Gobet. I bought everybody meat with my 75 cents. The money remained. It never got finished. So when we got to Nyahururu, unfortunately, my mother forgot her backpack in the bus, which had some of her few clothes. So she had no other clothes other than the one she was wearing. And we realized when the bus has already gone back.
What?
So I told her, don't worry, I have money. So right there at the stage in Nyahururu,
Yes.
I bought her a nylon dress with the same amount of money that I had, and a first nylon dress. So now we were ready to move. I can tell you that from that experience of feeding our family with meat and precious things that go back to buying my mother a dress, and I think I remained with the 1 cent and 50 cents, 10 cents and 50 cents or something like that. So that which I remained with. I began to feel that sometimes you may not change the whole world, but you can change the world of one person. Sometimes it is not the big things that we do that makes a difference. It is the heart that we have, and the vision of what we want to do. And I began to feel that things are not as bad as I think they are, and they don't have to remain like that. I began to learn that all of us are products of certain pasts. I happen to have come from a past that is humble or poor or needy. And we cannot change that past, but we can change the future. I began to learn those lessons at that early age, that we are all products of past. Some pasts are not good, some are painful, some people hurt us, some have to do with poverty, but we may not change those, but we can refuse to become prisoners of those pasts.
Oh, yes.
And we can set ourselves free and change our future. And that is the mind in which I grew. I grew up with. Then at this point, I remember I have not had any exposure to the gospel. I have not known Christ at this point. But long story short, when I was getting to high school, I got to know about Christ. And now that again changed my perspective.
Yeah.
What I already knew, that I can change my history and change my history of my family and others through hard work and through entrepreneurship, like one cabbage. When I became to know Christ in a Presbyterian conference in Kaba Technical in Daragwa. That changed my life again, because I went to Risheri Primary, I went to Rishau Secondary. When I was in Rishau Secondary, I learned that there is a camp meeting for youth where I can go and experience. And by that time, I have not known Christ yet.
You mean you went to primary school
In Risheri Primary School.
and secondary school at the same village?
In the same, today they call it, according to the Kenyan language, there is a location,
Location.
and there is a ward.
Yes.
So I would say that it is the
Same ward.
same county, same constituency,
Oh.
because the Risheri Primary and Darago and Rishau are all in the same area.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
No.
yes. So I was, in other words, I was a typical village boy, and that is important because in the future I'll talk about other chapters of the book,
Yes.
of how I moved from being a village boy to at least national,
International.
before international,
Yes.
national at least. You see, this is a boy who has only been in Nyeri County and now in Nyandarua County. We are neighbors.
Yes.
For many, many years, that's all he knows.
Wow.
Actually, the first time that I went outside those two counties
Yes.
is when I went to Kijabe High School
Yes.
for Form 5 and 6. That's when I at least went to Kiabu, another county. So this is a boy who is, and all that is what we used to call in those days Central Province. So
Yes.
a local boy, that's what I'm saying, who has come from such humble backgrounds. And then the Lord, so when I met the Lord, I came to know the Lord.
Now you have gone to secondary school.
I've gone to high secondary school.
That is where you
I started
got born
asking
again?
questions about the faith. And there were no people to answer my questions about the faith. And that will make another chapter of how important it is for people to represent Christ in their place of work.
Okay.
In the 7 mountains of influence. If you are in education, you influence that mountain of education. Teachers, Christian Union, those will be other chapters in my book in the future. Because at Rishau, there was no Christian Union, there was no Christian, there was nobody who you could ask any question. Even the commonly known as Kenya Student Christian Fellowship were not there those days. So there was really nobody. So when I started asking questions about the faith, I remember one person saying, you go and ask the CRA teacher.
Or now you are
inquiring.
asking your fellow students.
Yes, because I'm getting a conviction. You know, we have been told to go with the Bible, and I'm beginning to learn that Bible in Form 1, and it is beginning to raise questions, especially when I opened the first time in 1 John chapter 1. Hey, the Bible started talking about that we have all sinned. God is right. If we say we have no sin, we make him a liar. The truth is not in us. I started feeling some guilt with that. I don't want to make God a liar. I don't want to be separated from him.
Yes.
So I continued reading 1 John chapter 1, and I got to verse 9
Yes.
of 1 John chapter 1, which said, but. Of course, I had started learning a little bit of English, so I knew that when you hear the word but, that is a contrast. It means that it is changing the story.
The story, yeah.
That was being
so
being told. I knew the story of making God a liar, being a sinner, being in darkness. There is a but now. So I was interested in understanding the but. And when I read but, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just, and he will cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So I thought there was a solution there, that there was going to be another change, like my economic life of the cabbage. Now my spiritual life, there's a but here, it can also change. But the greatest question was, what is this confess? You know, sometimes biblical language, we think they are easy, but unless you have someone to help you understand, if you have not been exposed to it, then it just remains another complex situation. So here it's saying, but if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just, and he will cleanse from all unrighteousness. I asked everybody, what is this confess? How does one confess? How do you, some people started telling me, forget about that. It doesn't mean much. One person told me, why don't you ask the CRA teacher? Because he's the one who knows the whole Bible.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's the one who teaches the Bible.
True.
But I'm telling you, our CRA teacher, so I went to him. He was called Mr. Mboro. Mr. Mboro in Lechao Secondary.
Mr. Boro.
Mr. Mboro in Lechao Secondary did not know the Lord, and he was a chain smoker. He would change one cigarette to the other. On Monday, we had CRA lessons, and I used to sit in front, and he would come very drunk from the hangover of the weekend, and I had to move from the front seat to the back seat, because by the time he finished CRA lessons, I was already feeling drunk myself with the smell from his weekends. So that is the man I was going to ask, what does it mean to confess?
Oh my
So
God.
I went to ask him, and he said, forget about that. That is fanaticism. No, I will not ask you questions, CRA questions on that. Forget about it. But that same day, I found a guy who said, these questions you've been asking about the faith, there is a camp meeting in Kambat Technical held by the Presbyterian ministers of Daragwa Parish every April. They can answer questions like those. I'm telling you, I had to walk all the way from Raishiri through Daragwa to Kambat Technical for 3 days to be able to get an answer of how to connect to the faith.
Yes.
When I got there, I was led to the Lord. I accepted Christ. And I'm telling you, Anthony, every part of my journey has contributed to who I am today. Because that day when the preacher it was opening what we call theme exposition in the conference, he spoke from the same 1 John.
Wow.
That I was already having questions on. And he spoke about it, he answered all the questions. Then he completed by saying, whoever would like to confess their sins, it is simple. He started saying, it is simple. You just come here and you kneel down, you repeat the prayer after me, and you speak to God. And he made it so simple. So I walked to the front. Of course, to walk to the front was not very easy for me. It was very difficult. Because in this camp meeting, I was accompanied by my younger brother. His name is Chris. And I want you to meet Chris one day.
Yeah.
Chris, he'll tell you his story. Because when I was going to Church Way, he went to prison and got jailed for 7 years in Kengongo.
Wow.
And that is how life is. You whichever way you choose, it will lead you somewhere.
Is that story in the book?
It will be in the book. I'm asking him to write his story himself there as a chapter.
Yeah.
As a chapter.
Okay,
and even before that, you'll meet him, because while in prison, in Kingongo for 7 years, he started seeing people who were getting out of prison and then coming back and meeting them there. They have been released, but they have come back.
Okay.
Then he started asking himself, we thought outside there is where freedom is.
Yes.
How comes that people are going out and then they are again coming back, they are jailed? He learned that they are going out there and they are not being accepted by their families. So what they are doing is that they are committing crime, sometimes intentionally, so that they go back to prison where they have been used to. So he thought that this is something needs to be done about this. And so when he got out of prison, he came to us. My wife Joyce and I led him to Christ in our house in Dome in Nairobi after he came from prison. And then he shared with us about the vision of what he wants to do for the prisoners. And so he ended up starting Chris Halfway Home. Chris Halfway Home is his vision. He is the director. It is right there in Karatina where we were born, at my parents' place. And later, he became the pastor of GOA Karatina. So he is the pastor of GOA Karatina. He's the director of Chris Halfway Home. And And we are looking forward
Okay.
to having visitors coming to our home to celebrate our parents on November 2nd. And Chris is the person on the ground. We have just set that day as a day of celebrating parents.
Okay.
So I was saying that to say he has a story that you will get to meet him. But I was talking about how I met the Lord in Kaba Technical, in a Presbyterian church of East Africa camp meeting in Kaba. And the minister who led me to the Lord was called Reverend Munyiri. He went to the Lord, and I'm glad that he helped me know what to confess is. So he asked me a question. He said, before I pray for you, I want to introduce you to a life of prayer. So that because now you are getting into another life of prayer.
Yes.
And the way I'll introduce you to a life of, and by that time I'm kneeling down waiting for him to lead me to confess.
Yes.
Because that's why I walked to the front.
Yes.
So he's talking to me and I'm kneeling there. He's saying, before I pray for you, I want to introduce you to a life of prayer. And so can you tell me one or two things that you'd like us to pray for now, so that when God answers those prayers, you in your new life, as a new believer, you are going to learn how to pray and you'll be motivated to pray. I said to him, I never even thought twice. Number one, tell God, I don't want to see anybody in my lifetime or my family having to walk for 3 days like I have done to come and find out what to confess is. Or to come and have the questions of the gospel answered.
Wow.
I would like the gospel to be taken closer to the people and people to hear about it faster without struggling like I have. Number two.
Now that is the first day now.
I am still kneeling and he has not prayed for me. He is introducing me to a life of prayer. I'm a new believer. I'm waiting for him to pray for me. I said the second thing, I do not want, if I will ever have a family, because I don't think I can raise a family with this kind of poverty that I've been brought up. I don't want my children to be suffering to the way I have suffered.
Yes.
But if I ever do that,
Yes.
I don't want children to walk barefoot.
Wow.
He looked at me, he said, those are godly answers, and God has led you into that. Long story short, that is why today I am taking care of orphans, because of the prayer that I was prayed for, and that other children do not have to be in the streets, do not have to lack food. That is why today I am taking the gospel to the Unleashed People group. And so when GOA, when I got to an opportunity to start GOA in 1991 in Donyonjeru as a high school teacher.
Bishop, before you go there.
Yes.
Now, take us to your journey to now where you went college.
Thank you very much. Maseno University, an area called Seriba near Maseno High School. That is where I went to college. And that is where I became. Actually, let me go back a little.
You went out of your village.
Let me go back a little bit. Let me go back a little bit. I have come from Lechao Secondary School. I have gone to Kijabe High School from 5 and 6.
Okay.
I have so now at least I have been to Nyandarua, Nyeri County, and now Kiabu, all of them Central Province.
Yes.
And now after that I went now to Maseno area. That was the longest ride that I have ever had, and went to a different place. So I got there, trained there, and I grew a lot as a Christian in Kijabe. And I know one of the mature sisters who helped us grow might be watching us, because she one time she wrote to me on Facebook and said she lives here in the United States. She got married. She helped us very much in Kijabe, and the mature sisters who are older than us, and and I'm very grateful to that kind of upbringing. And then, so because that's where I grew very much in Kijabe. See, I have just known the Lord. I have come to the A level.
Yes.
Now I have I came to a very strong Christian union where we would have many people coming over the weekend. Those who know Kijabe High School, it is next to the entire AIM mission, the AIC church there.
Yes.
We have the Moffat Bible College.
Yes.
Those guys helped us grow so much. Anybody watching me who a Moffat alumni, especially of 1980, 81, 82, 83, 84 there, thank you very much. I owe a lot to that heritage, and that will make another chapter in the Bible.
Yes.
The Christian Union of the medical school in Kijabe helped us a lot. We would, in the afternoon they would come, they would teach us Bible study, they would pray with us. The place for printing down there, I don't remember whatever the printing place is called there in Kijabe. They would come and encourage us to write articles in the magazines, to the extent that when I became a teacher in Karema, the first thing I did was to start a magazine for the school called Karema Mirror. And then I came to print it in Kijabe, where I was. My life has been a connection. Nothing has gone to waste in every stage that I have passed through. Every relationship that I ever built, even today, is contributing. And even from this show,
I can agree with you.
even from this show, some of the people who will contact me and who will know that I'm still alive, because some might be thinking I died with COVID, you know. And I'm grateful for this opportunity. You know, many people died in COVID. So these days you ask, where is so and so? Oh, don't you know? He died during COVID. I am alive, breathing and well, and doing international missions. So some of the people who connect with me through this, especially those who live in the United States. And I know there are many of them in Seattle, there are many of them in California and other places that I don't know.
And even Canada.
And even Canada. Actually, on Facebook once in a while, I see my former students, especially Karema, writing and saying, oh, Mwalim, teacher, when you come to America, please come and visit me.
You are here now.
Now I am here. Now I'm here, and I'm going to be here until the 20th of this month that we have started today. Then I'll go back because of the many other responsibilities that I have. So, but I am interested in connecting with anyone who is interested in changing lives of people.
I know.
That is what I am about. I'm interested in changing the lives of people. So you took me back to a back chapter of where I went to college. And so I went to college, and I was posted to Karema Girls on 1st of April, 1988.
Let me ask you, how did you choose your career? Because many young people, that is where, because I don't want to talk about your calling, I want to talk about your career. Because the time you came to Tigoni to preach to us, you had two caps. One, you were a teacher, and the second one, you were a pastor. You know, and I was like, how did you know now this is my career?
That is a $1 million question, Anthony, and thank you for asking. You know, when you ask me questions like that, you bring back memories of where things that I always wanted to do. When I went to Leshao, Leshao was not an old school. And in the chapter, in one of the chapters of the book that is in my mind that I'm writing, I have talked about it doesn't matter where you go to school. It is not the school that has your destiny. And I've talked about how we went to Leshao. We were among the first. It was a day school, struggling. Let me not go into that chapter. Somebody will read it in the Bible, in the book that I write. So I've talked about how I struggled in day school, cooking for myself, sometimes living with the relatives and friends of my parents. My late aunt, helped me a lot. Who was the principal of Gaidadia Secondary School, Mrs. Gishuru. She helped me a lot. to encourage me to go and work hard. I would come from her home in Gaidaithia, and I would go to Reshao, and she was telling me, you keep working hard, and we lasted her in the Lord, and may the Lord just bless her. But I know her children are watching because they also live in this country, and they have also asked me to visit them many times, and we give a lot of tribute and credit to her for the many people she helped. I'm one of those. So we stayed with people back and forth to school. Finally, I rented a small house in near the school, Lishao, Mutanga. In other words, I'm trying to say I had not performed very well in the primary school. And that's another chapter also in the book. I am not those genius. You know, sometimes when people see you succeeding in life, they think that you are born a genius. I'm not that genius. I'm not a genius myself. I'm one of those who work very hard to be able to understand, especially those days. And we used to put water, our legs in cold water, so that we don't doze, to be able to lead and finish the work. So I really, and then another chapter in the book that I write is on issues of mental health, because I got some mental health issues when I was in standard 7, which affected my performance. I was ranging position 1 to 3 in the lower part of the primary. Then when I got these issues of mental health in class 7, which actually took me even to Kenyatta Hospital, even to Mathare, and that's a whole book. And I have preached a sermon on a mental health day in my YouTube. It's already there.
When you say Mathare, what do you mean? Because many might not understand.
Mathare is a hospital, is a national hospital in Nairobi for those people who have mental issues.
You went there?
Yes.
In class 7?
Yes, I have a file in Mathare.
Bishop?
So when people say everybody has a bit of their madness, it's only the degree that matters. I understand what that means. My degree was very high that time because I went there. And I really don't want to talk about that today. Let it be a chapter for another day, because I give a lot of credit to my mother, how we struggled, and she was going with me Kenyatta. I knew for the first time, I knew bus number 7 goes to Kenyatta with her, and sometimes we would be passed to another place. And I'm still mentally struggling. I went back to that chapter to say that I wasn't that good. So I never made it. The mental health situation made me not get very good marks at the certificate of primary education. Because so I only qualified to go to Reshao Secondary School, which was a day school. And when I tell this story and write it as a chapter in my book, it's because I want a viewer, especially those who are parents, to know that it is so important not to put pressure in your children.
Yes.
Because here I had the pressure to perform well. I'm in class 7. I have the pressure of many other things, peer pressure, many things, and I want to perform well. I remember I'm the boy who wants to change things in the family. So when every teacher comes and talks about for you to live a good life, you have to get 36 points out of 36. You have to go to Alliance or Mangu or wherever, and then at home you are pushed the same way. Remember how much we are struggling here. If you don't perform, you are going to live a life of poverty. All that, and being the boy who wants to bring change, that is what led to my mental breakdown at class 7. Consequently, never performed well, and consequently went to a day school that was being started where you could not even get a Christian union or anybody. And by all that, I have never known the Lord. And my life began to change. Let alone I went to Kijabe. Form 5 and 6. Let me back up, because the reason I have gone to that is because you asked me about career. That's why I went back to Reshao.
Yes.
In Reshao Secondary School, being a small school, that's why I was describing a school, pioneering school. I think we were among among the first people to do the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. There wasn't really, we were relying on teachers employed as not by the government, not trained, untrained teachers. So we really didn't have a career guidance that would be of much help. So back to your question, I wanted to become a journalist. I wanted to become a news media person. I wanted to become a person who specifically deals with the news, and not all news. Sports news.
I think
sports news.
I heard you saying on a national TV in Kenya about that.
Yes, and I'm very grateful for the national TV in Kenya, because over time, God is using them to bring back my dream of what I wanted to be. Where you had me saying that, it was at Inoro TV with Kamau Kang'ethe. Kamau Kang'ethe hosts me at Inoro TV frequently with Joroge Githenji. And that's where I was telling him that I'm very grateful because of him and the loyal media, and the loyal media friends, many of them there who invites me to tell my story. And there are very many, very many, including one of the directors there, Vincent Kimani, and including Jeremiah Rifali, the many friends, Fidelis Wanganga, those are my friends and fans, Amos Weru Mwangi, and many other Inoro friends, both in the FM and in the TV. They have encouraged me to learn that it is not too late to be whom you to be whom you would have been.
Oh yes.
They give me the opportunity, and even being here today in this media platform, it is part of what I wanted to be. It might be a little late for me. For me at this age, but that is what I wanted to be. Back to your question of career, I lacked that career. If I got that career guidance at the Shao Secondary School in those years, I think I would have landed to Kenya Institute of Mass Communication.
Yes.
Because that was the big one that time.
Yes.
And
the only one.
And the only one.
Yes.
Because the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication on Mombasa Road, and there was the Voice of Kenya, VOK, was the only, which is KBC today. That is the line I wanted. Do you know why I wanted to be that?
No.
Because I admired Leonard Mambo Botera.
Oh,
I wanted to be
raged.
I wanted to be talking about the sports.
Yeah.
I wanted to be when the small radios in the village were tuned on, and I heard Leonard Mambo Botera talking about sports. Kadege na mpira, huyo goal. That's what I was admiring. Musikilizaji wangu. And Muhammad Ali. I mean, those. I was always glued to the small radios in the neighborhood during the safari rallies.
Yes.
Because Leonard Mambo would be there helping us to feel like we are part of the safari rally. He would say, Jogida Singh. Uyo na pamoja. Patrick Jiro.
Yes.
Those are the things that I admired as a boy. And as I grew, as a young man, I desired to become like Leonard Mambo Botera, or rather to become a newscaster.
Yes.
Now that did not happen.
Yes.
But it is happening now.
Yes.
Because that's what I'm doing right here this morning at Salem, Oregon. Now, the United States.
And actually you have done it for many years since I knew you, especially from 2002. You have been always in the media.
The Lord just opens doors for me to be in the media, and I'm telling you, and I would like my viewer today to understand some of the dreams that our children have, or we have ourselves when we are young. Let us not just despise them. They may not become that time. And going back to Habakkuk again, that though a vision may tarry, it shall surely come to pass. Because what I wanted to do then, I do it now. Might be a late age in life, but I'm doing it for the right motivation. It is now beyond the Leonard Mambo.
Yes.
It is now beyond the sports. It is now beyond the safari rally. I love the media, and I love using every opportunity in the media to be able to connect people who have resources with people who are needed the way I was then. That is one thing I love the media about. That through the media platforms, I am able to reach people whom I cannot reach in person.
Yes.
For example, I have I've been in this US trip for I think 2 weeks now, and I have reached quite a number of people where I have traveled in Georgia, in Tampa, Florida, and now I am here in Salem, Oregon. The people I'm going to reach today are probably more than those I have met since I came here.
Oh, yes.
And probably more than those that I will meet in the remaining 21 days that I am in this great land of the United States, because of the media. And let me tell you, Anthony, I have met people through the media who have become major partners of my organization, Glory Outreach Assembly. And you can't believe when I show you what they are doing in Kenya today, and then you hear that some of them I've never even met them face to face. I just give my contact here, they pick it, they communicate with me. The next thing I hear is that they want to sponsor a child. And they start sponsoring a child. I connect them with our agency here in Georgia for child sponsorship. Some have never met them, but they listen to me on Inolo TV or Light from Kenya, and they live here or other places, or some met me on Facebook. Some of the churches whom we are partnering with today in this United States, I've never met those people in person. It is through the media. They expressed, they went to find out more after a show like this. And before I knew it, then some are already sponsoring children, others are building classrooms, others have even now come physically, and I met them through the media.
Now, Bishop, I know you are doing a lot of things.
Yes.
And I know there is a great team behind you that is helping you to accomplish all this. But now, give us transition from your career to your calling.
Well, powerful experience in that transition. So after starting to teach in Karema Girls in 1st of April 1988, and remember, I have been in Siriba, where I have grown so much spiritually. So the two places that I accredit my discipleship and growth, one is Kijabe, in the advanced level, with people like Naomi. I've remembered Naomi and other people, Esther, Naomi is in Georgia, Esther, and Jeremiah. I mean, people like those who helped us to grow. So Kijabe and the college, well, Christian Union. So while in college, we preached in the whole of the western part of the country, and we formed an evangelistic team called ISET. At the time, Soul Harvesters Evangelistic Team.
I can remember that because you came to Thagana in 1995.
Exactly.
Yes.
And and then we met you.
Yes.
By the way, this morning, you are bringing very precious memories to me, because actually before I came, I go to the studio, I was reminded about a young man called Amos Mirera, whom the Lord connected me with, and he is also probably watching. He is also a media young man. And then I started thinking of the journey we walked together with him. Now you have reminded me about yourself and how we met at Tigoni.
Yes.
And now today we are here with you in Salem, Oregon. Remember Tigoni and remember those days. And
oh my God.
maybe that should be another story in the book.
Yeah, it should.
And maybe you are the one who should write that chapter and talk about people like Gojo and others.
Yeah, it will be an honor about Derito, Kuria,
Gojo, Derito who married Muthoni, who married Martin Kememia.
Married Muthoni from Karima.
Yes, yes. Actually, when you called me this morning to tell me to get ready, you are picking me. I was just thanking God in prayer for Pastor Moby, Hannah Moby.
Oh.
Because I started this morning, I started thinking of how you brought me to this new place, Salem, Oregon, which I've never been. That's what I was thinking in the morning. And I was thinking how I arrived late and how you drove all that distance from the airport. And I started asking myself how we connected with you. So I remembered Pastor Moby in Tigoni and how and Umoja Primary and all that.
All those things.
I started remembering about how you are all in the golf club and you also have a humble beginning.
We also have a brother to Kuria who is here in Oregon. Yes.
What is
his name is Karori.
Yeah,
Paul.
yeah.
And I think you'll meet him. I'll make sure you meet him.
Yeah. No. I remembered of I remembered of all those lives.
Yes.
That got transformed and changed through all that. Back to your question on the transition from teaching. So 1988, God opens a door for me. By the way, this trip to the US, I'm calling it open door trip.
Open door trip.
Open door trip. And it is based from our theme.
This is open door.
It is open door. It's open.
Community Connect
Yes.
Media. You are our first interviewer.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is open.
Thank you for having me. It's an open door because the theme of GOA this year from Isaiah 60 verse 11 is an year of open doors. And so I've never been to Oregon before. I actually never imagined that one could be in the flight for all those hours the way I was, 2 flights from Atlanta, and then the change of time. All that. So in the morning I was thinking about this opportunity, coming here, open door, first time to be in this state, new people, and I thought about our connection through Tigoni and all that. So those days that I used to come to preach when I was preaching to you and other young men in Tigoni with Pastor Hannah Moby the late. I saw the need for starting a ministry because that was 1988, and I felt strongly that there's no way I could go to preach outside when I have not done much within the school where I was in, because I was trained Karima Girls now. So from 1988 I focused a lot in evangelism. In Karima Girls, there was no Christian Union. I focused on establishing a Christian Union.
Yes.
I focused on leading teachers to the Lord and discipling them. In March 1989, we got a breakthrough when the late Principal Catherine Muthoni Kehiohe gave her life to Christ. Lives changed. She became the chairperson of the organization that I was hoping to start in 1990.
Yes.
So she shared the first board of Glory Outreach Assembly as a new believer, and as a beneficiary from my ministry. And then we were joined by other people in the school, people like Mrs. Esther Munyiri, who is today the director of GOA Compassion, people like the husband to Esther, Reverend Peter Munyiri, who was in Egerton those days, found a ministry, a place where they could serve. People like Cecilia Ifai, who was a secretary and a librarian in Karima, today is the mother of the children in our Tumaini home. And so those early connections, relationships in the school are the ones that eventually led us into starting a Glory Outreach Assembly together. And of course, I'm sure you know Pastor John Kareithi.
Yes.
John Kareithi was
engineer?
Was a high school, was a school teacher at Donyonjero Primary. Then, long story, another chapter.
Yeah.
But God connected us. God connected us with John Kareithi. We bonded in the spirit and vision, and with other people there called Joshua and a few other people. And the teachers in Karema and Iset, which we had formed from college, where people like my wife Joyce were, although they were posted to other schools, like Kirogoya, and people like Kamau Robert, who were in Nakuru.
In Nakuru, yeah.
In Nakuru.
Messiah Celebration Center.
Yes, yeah. And people like Pastor Margaret, Pastor Margaret Muchai, who is now the pastor of Deliverance Church in Two Rivers.
Wow.
Just in my neighborhood there, where I live. Those are the people that we connected and served through ISET. Yes. And people like Engineer Nyori, Baba Makari, who lectures at the university and also is a pastor, I think, with the Redeemed. So those, and people like Bogwa, I don't know, Bogwa is somewhere here in this United States, I think in Nashville somewhere, Robert Bogwa and his wife Wanjiro. People like Pastor Ruth Macharia, yes. And my condolences to Pastor Ruth Macharia. She lost her dad, my friend Kimani in Dida, Kinangop. And I taught her sisters, Lillian, who have become pastors. Yeah. Macharia himself, people like Isaac Kanyinge, who we let alone, who ended up being my host when I first came to the United States in Atlanta and introduced to Beulah Heights Bible College. All those are people whom we met in college, and we were in the same Christian Union. And when you get time, a viewer, just check on my YouTube at Bishop David Munyiri Thagana. Yes. And follow a series that I'm doing there, which is called The Power of Relationships. I've done a series on the power of relationships. Series 1, 2, 3, and how to break from relational poverty. What I'm trying to talk about there is, when you hear me talk about people we were with in college, and then we are still connected today in ministry, and when now I am seated here with Anthony, whom I preached to in Tigoni in 1995. Relationships are meant to last, because you never know where they lead you to. And you also don't know how the synergy in these positive relationships, how it leads to changing lives, and how it leads to your destiny. Because everybody's destiny is connected to another person's in one way or the other. Everybody you have met in life, if you look and examine and be sensitive enough, you will learn that relationship must have been helpful somewhere. So sometimes in a negative way, because somebody may have hurt you, so that you end up learning how to deal with people who are hurt. Somebody may have become your enemy, so that the Lord may prepare a table before those enemies. In those series, do you address how to deal with people who hurt you? It is a continuation of series. I haven't heard of that, but I'll be doing that. Okay. I am laying the foundation on the power of relationships, beginning with Jesus valuing relationships, telling us about loving our neighbors, loving. So the foundation I have laid so far in that series is that our relationships begin with relationship with God and relationship with one another. In the two commandments. And then they will build out of, from that, they will build to the Great Commission, to going to take the gospel, which is what GOA is about, or rather the ministry that I serve the Lord with. So I transitioned from being a teacher to, I served in Karema Girls for 10 years, from 1988 to 1998. That is the only school you were posted? That is the only school that God had my destiny connected with. it is going to have several chapters in my book because the Lord did
Yeah,
many
10
things.
years
And some of the girls that the Lord connected me with in the school, their life today has something to do with what God helped me to develop and to grow there. And God has blessed most of them. They are all over the world. Sometimes I go to some place and say, oh, teacher, here I am in this place, I'm there. Actually, I owe a number of them a trip, especially especially in Seattle. In my Facebook once in a while, I say, so-and-so, I'm so-and-so. Teacher, I'm in Seattle. Please come and visit me. I've never been to Seattle. I think I'll be going to Seattle next year. So all those friends, I will put them together.
Yes.
And I have many friends in Seattle. I have many friends there.
I know.
And but I have never been there.
Yeah.
I am surprised actually, and I was thinking about that last night. How come that the Lord has brought me to Oregon, where I've never been, where I never knew anybody here except you and Reverend Henry Duty. I think you're the only two people I knew here. And now I have come here before Seattle, where I know many friends, where actually some of the people that have invested heavily in their lives are in Seattle, but I've never been there. So God has different ways of working.
Yeah, the way I see it, you know, do you remember first the book of John?
Yes.
When you read about confessing, and then few days later or few months later, a preacher preached to you about it.
Yes.
I think you should ask God also about Oregon.
Oh Lord, yes, I'm very sensitive. One of the people in Atlanta yesterday before I left told me, Bishop David, God must be having a plan for you because going to a place far like that is so far and you have never been there. God must be having a plan. And so he was telling me, please, when you come back, because I'll go back to Atlanta on Saturday, spend some time and share with me what that plan was or why the Lord took you there. So I am not taking it rightly.
Yes.
Plus the fact that GOA theme for 2024 is open doors, year of open doors. So to me, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah,
it's not
it
just
is
by
not,
by feeling my itinerary here. No. And even being in this studio today and talking to all the people who are listening today, it is not by accident. It is part of my divine connection with my divine purpose for what God wants to do. Not only here in Oregon, but also anywhere else.
Now, Bishop, I just want to ask you this question. I know you have many branches of churches, and for the last few months and weeks you have been ordaining bishops. Kindly, like, I want to give you like 5 minutes. Tell us, how many churches do you have in every region, and the blueprint for churches, then so that we may go to the ministry of my heart.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And before I go there, let me more specifically summarize the earlier question you asked me about the transition. So I resigned from being a teacher in Karema Girls. I wrote a letter in 1997, 1st of September, and I gave 3 months because the TSC required 3 months notice, so that from January 1st January 98, I would I went to East Africa School of Theology to again study theology, though I had already studied education. So my transition was from a teacher to a student, and that opened new relationships of pastors and leaders through theological training. I would go back. But during all that time, remember, I have already started GOA in 1991, and now 1998 I'm going to Bible school and also taking care of the church. And one of the churches within that period is the Donyonjero, it's the Karema Church, it's the Geta Church. Geta Church, which will be celebrating their anniversary on December 20th this year. 31st anniversary.
Geta Church is like Laodicea Church to... it is not, for me, the way I saw it, even when we were in Karima,
Yes.
it was like, it is not a rich church, but it has a heart.
And I want you to, that's very kind of you, and I'll make sure that the pastor and the people there understand that. And I would like you to put it in your diary that that weekend of Christmas this year, we will all be in Geta celebrating 31 years of that church.
Wow.
And during that time, we will be mentioning people like your friend George, and people like your friend Muhori.
Yes.
Those people who contributed towards the starting of that church.
Okay, yeah.
So, and we will also be raising money on that Sunday of Christmas to build them a permanent church. Their church has filled to capacity. The other day I was there, people are sitting outside. The gospel has accepted GOA in Geta, and so we even be raising money to buy the next plot.
Wow.
and build a bigger church. That's how we want to mark 31 years for Geta. And so but now to your question. So I transitioned. It was not easy. It was very difficult. I had young children. I didn't know what exactly that means. When you give me another opportunity, or in the book,
yes,
you can read about why I wanted to go to Bible school, because I wanted to start meeting people of faith, people who say we are eating faith. Because me, I was used to salary as a teacher. I had not been used to staying. I don't know how I'll pay my house. I don't know how I'll pay my school fees.
With that bicycle.
Miracle One. Now you are taking me back to other story. Miracle One, believing that Miracle 2 is coming.
Yes.
And that bicycle. So that was the transition. And those are powerful chapters that will appear in the book when we write it. Or when we get another opportunity to have this kind of interview. But to your question of church, so why did I, even before I come to your question, why did I see the need to start a church? I'm one of those people, as I have told you, who was raised and grew in evangelistic teams. Those days,
yes,
evangelistic teams and churches were not seeing eye to eye. They were not seeing eye to eye. We used to think denominations are demons, or they have nothing to do with, they are just about sitting in the church. That was the evangelistic message those days. But after doing the evangelism and going all over the place, I just started asking myself when I was still teaching, where is the harvest that we have been getting every time we go to this place or that place? Where is the harvest? Because many people would come to Christ, but when we later on ask the one who hosted us, they would not know where they are. So I thought, like, we are just playing a game. We go somewhere, we spend our money, we have very little money, we are all newly employed, and we sponsor a whole week crusade. We get tired, we sleep on the floor, we get rained on, hundreds of people come to Christ. But later on, when I begin asking, where are those people? I remember one time we went to Nyanza, hosted by a church called Christian Outreach. The pastor was called James somebody, a ruler from that region. So many people came to Christ, so many people. Later on, when we tried to do follow-up, finding out, he thought that we want to take control because God had given us favor, and he really was not very kind to us. He was even wondering why we are asking. We were only invited as an evangelistic team to preach. And then he made a statement, which is actually what propelled me to go and start GOA that time. He said, he said in Kiswahili, uchungu wa mwana aujuaye ni mzazi, nyinyi ndio mnajua uchungu wa wale watu mlizaa hapa.
Oh yeah.
He was trying to say that for him, and that was not kind of him, but that's what he said. He said for me, he said for me and my church here, we did not experience the birth pains of the souls that you are now asking us to follow, or you're asking us to disciple children whom you gave birth yourselves and you left, and you are the people.
Abandoned.
You are the people who should be feeling the pain.
Okay, yeah.
So when I thought about that statement, to start with, I didn't feel very, very nice about it.
It was harsh.
But it is a kind of hard truth.
Yes.
That
Yes, yes.
you know, sometimes somebody speaks hard truth, and they don't speak it in the Ephesian way, Ephesian way of speaking the truth in love.
Yeah.
It is truth, yes, but it is not spoken in love. So I didn't feel good about it. But later on, when I thought about it, I said, well, if our work as an evangelistic team is to give birth and to leave the children to die in the hands of people who say they never experienced the birth pangs, and truly they never experienced, because as an evangelistic team we would raise the money ourselves, we would do the planning, we would pray and fast. They were only going to receive us, and then we go there, we preach ourselves, we do everything, and then we leave them with the souls. So he was actually honest in saying they had no financial pain, they had no pain of being rained on. So I agreed with him eventually, and I said, I want to do ministry that is sustainable. I prayed and asked the Lord. Here I am as a secretary of ISET. I represent the whole Nyandarua County. I have already introduced my staff, my teachers, and the people who are getting saved in Karema to 8, and we are one of the largest ISET chapters. But if they hear or they ask me for accountability of those souls, and then I tell them what Pastor James have told me, I'll break their hearts. I said, I don't want to do that. Instead, I want a sustainable way of containing and conserving the harvest. So we prayed together with them at Karema, and we said, we are going to start a church, GOA church. And we prayed and we started GOA church. 1991, another chapter, there was no place to start the church. So we started in a bar called UP, upstairs. It was the only small hall in Donyonjeru. And people did not understand how these young people, teachers, can start a church in a bar. So they thought we were actually just drunkards. And they would come there wanting to drink. And they would find us jumping and singing. And they would say, today's beer is very good. People are getting drunk very quickly. So before they knew it, we would preach a short sermon, invite them they receive Jesus. Guess who was among the first people to receive Jesus in the bar? It is Stephen Karanja Kemiti, a headmaster of a school near the bar, who was coming to drink because he was so frustrated in life. And he came and found it's not a bar, because the owner of the bar told us to have the bar from morning up to 1, and we pay 700 shillings, which he calculated equivalent of the beer that he was selling on Sundays from morning to 1. So I would take my salary to start with and carry this salary, and Catherine, the late Catherine Modoni, and we would place the 700 before we got more members, more people, and we would pay. So Stephen Karaja Committee comes in, and he received Jesus, and as one of the first fruits of GOA in 1991, today he is the bishop of all GOA churches in Kinangop, and we just ordained him the other day, which takes me to your question on I am ordaining people. Yes, because we are passing the baton. I think now you know my age now. I am at a point where I'm thinking more about legacy. I'm now thinking about how you people can take up this baton and
just fetching wisdom
and learn with it. And that's why I'm also very excited this morning to be in this show, when I see that your show is humanitarian community connect.
We are connecting people who are humanitarian to the people who have the resources and they want to help and they don't know where to help.
Anthony, you don't know how much joy that brings to me this morning, because to see you thinking humanitarian, I may not even know much about the connections that you are doing, but to see you thinking humanitarian, because that is my prayer, that anybody who ever came into contact with me in my life, that if they don't get any other any other dose, that they just get the dose of serving others and making life better for others, connecting resources with the needs.
Yes.
And that's what I feel God has called me to do in Africa. And that is what takes me around Africa. Connecting people with the resources, with the needs in Africa.
The real need.
The real need.
Yeah.
The real need.
Yes.
I will connect the need of a street child in Kenya to a person who have only $39 a month, and they are saying that if you can give me a child, one of the children like this one, this is Gladys Ayenai Aitie, and you can tell by names that this is not a Kikuyu. When I connect a person who can afford $39 a month to sponsor Gladys, so that Gladys can be able to eat, so that Gladys can be able to be taken care of in a home where he is loved, in the 8 children's homes that GOA has, that we are managing, where 790 children have passed through our homes. And some of those that we took first have gone through education, they have completed, they have come back, they are managing those institutions, they are the teachers in the schools. When I meet a person who says, well, tell me more about Gladys, or tell me how I can sponsor Gladys, I may never come to Kenya, and I've met many people like that. Last Sunday, I met 12 people who said, I want to sign up to support Gladys, to support children like Gladys. This is just an example. I have 324. 324 sponsorships of $39 each.
Bishop, the viewers might want to know how comes we left you as a pastor, now you have homes. And we understand many churches, they don't do what you are doing.
Thank you, Anthony, and you are really helping me get back to track because I get excited about what the Lord is doing, because I was talking to you about starting GOA, and I was telling you that when I was praying in 1988 in Karima, 89 and 90, those 3 years I was telling God, I do not just want to start any other church or any other denominations, because there are many. Even though there were not many in that area, I was saying, I was telling God, I want to start a movement. Even if I did not have to make it a church, because I was seeing many churches, and I was wishing that I had the opportunity to do things differently. I wanted to build a movement that will do things differently, that will meet the human needs.
Oh, yes.
I wanted to meet an organization that will have the legal framework, and that was the reason for registering GOA. Because if there was another way of doing it without necessarily creating another church or another ministry or another denomination, I'm the kind of person who would have loved to just do it alongside other people. But here I am in a place where even the gospel is a challenge. No Christian union, no church, orphans are here, unleashed people groups are here, and I needed a legal framework of this movement. So I started GOA to form that legal movement, legal framework movement that would enable me meet the needs of orphans, meet the needs of unleashed people groups. In those days, there were 36 people groups in Kenya those days that had no access to the gospel. They had no Bible in their own language. They had no church near them that they would reach to. My heart was for those. I wanted to reach the many young people, the youth, who had found the church to become irrelevant, like I had also found the church to be irrelevant. And that's why I'm saying I would have been the last person to register a church, because I was finding the church extremely irrelevant. Because what do I mean by this? The first time that I went to a nearby church as a teacher, in that area of Kinangop, the church that I thought I would connect with. I went with the sisters in the Lord that I was discipling, and we were going for Acacia. And just to get at the door there, the women who had long dresses and who had tied their head up to the ears point, they came out. I thought they were coming to usher us, but they came with lassos. Lasso, I don't know what you call lasso, or you understand what I mean by lasso. Shukaire. And they started tying them because they thought their dresses were shorter than the length that theirs had. And they had headscarves. They started tying them. You can see the drama. Here we have come. We are in a school setting. We minister to girls whose heads are exposed and school uniform, who have lead skirts and green sweaters and white blouse. That is the uniform. But in this setting that we have come, of a church setting, that kind of dress is not acceptable. In my mind, I started saying, so in the mind of this church, all this Karema Girls Church would not be considered church because they are in skirts, and they are not tying their heads, and that is what was my church for 1988-89, and I have already led youth around who are also finding the church irrelevant, and they are waiting for the Bible study in the school, in my house in Karema, so that they can come in, and now they don't dress that way. They don't. So I ask myself, what is all this? I'm telling you, those sisters were so embarrassed, and I was very embarrassed myself. And we have gone for Acacia, we have gone to look for a church outside the school which we can connect with more, so that we can reach out that area. Now that is when God confirmed to me that we needed a church that is relevant to the youth, relevant to every other person, a church that is friendly. And that's how we started GOA there, to meet that need, a church that would focus on missions, taking the gospel, because I was coming from a background of evangelistic team and I believed in missions. People who would take the gospel to the unleashed people groups. And thank God, by the grace of God, now we have been able to establish, to take the gospel to the Thagana people. I went there in October 2004, and when we were there, long story, another chapter, we found a missionary John, who later on became the Member of Parliament of Thagana Central, Honorable John Lodepe Nakara, and he drove me. He was working with Share International, and I think Share International, the director here, Munyiri, is somewhere here I think in the States. So Munyiri, the director of Share International, would come with teams to Thagana, and they would support Share International. They still have a lot of work there. So when I went there to find out how to reach the people, and I was asking who else is there, whom can I partner with, I was directed to Share International, and I found John Nakara, who later on became a Member of Parliament for Thagana Central. And he drove me, together with one of his staff called Joshua, who is serving now in the county administration of Thagana. They drove me to a place called Akatuman. Akatuman, people were naked, they were hungry, they were helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. They had never seen a church anywhere at all. It is very close to Erie Springs. And we preached the gospel. I've never preached to such many naked people. And it was it broke my heart. When I look at them and I see elderly men sitting on their stool and they're naked. And I am not used to that even from a cultural standpoint. So I would preach looking up. And I was preaching John 3:16, for God so loved the world. And then I remember that's not right. I turned this side, for God so loved the world. I don't want to see the nakedness. Long story short, that area, we got a breakthrough. Now we have a school there, big school that is producing doctors and nurses, and primary school. We have a church, we are reaching that community. We went to another village, Naboropus, and we have another school there and a church. We have sunk boreholes, many boreholes in Thagana. We have 26 GOA churches among the Turkana people. We have two primary schools there.
Wow.
We have adults. The adults started feeling jealous. Can you imagine a culture today in this time and age where the parents are competing with their children and they are telling me, Bishop, you brought the school and educated our children. Now they are speaking English. What about us? Why can't you? So that led us to starting GOA adult literacy. And so we have adult literacy in there where children come in the morning, in the afternoon, the adults come. The last year the adults performed very well. Can you imagine an adult sitting the same with doing homework with their children, and then one of them got 250 marks, and it was a celebration of the whole village. In KCP, an adult father and mother. So we, I wanted a ministry that will meet needs like those. Then we went to Samburu, same, great work. I'll be ordaining, back to your question of the ordinations. From here, when I go back, on the 26th Saturday of this month, this new month, I'll be ordaining Bishop Daniel Waweru as the Bishop of GOA Mount Kenya region. He is located in a place called Mukindori in Kirowea, in Kirinyaga, Mukindori. That's where we will be doing the ordination there on the 26th. And then the next month, 16th of November, we'll be ordaining Bishop James Susanga in Malaland as the Bishop of GOA churches in Malaland. We have 18 churches in Malaland among the Samburu people, because that's what God was calling us to do. So we'll be ordaining him. And then we will close the year ordaining Bishop Paul Ogutu in Nyanza, our GOA Jera church. We have many churches in Nyanza, the bishop of that area. The goal of this year was to ordain a bishop every month except January, to take care of the work in their regions. And God has blessed us. We have managed to do that every month except January, which we did not want to put, because we made these decisions in our December summit last year. Every year we have a summit of leaders where we make decisions. And this year the summit is going to be in Naivasha.
Yes.
And we make Naivasha declarations from there of what we're going to do in the next year.
I think, Bishop, we're going to have another interview with you, because you have not talked about your work in Africa.
No, I haven't. I haven't.
You have not told us how many homes you have, how many children have passed through those homes.
Can I summarize that?
Yeah. It is good, but we will find a time and come and give us, give us the whole, the whole. We don't want half-baked numbers. We want the whole thing, because we want the whole picture. Because I know many children, and some of them even they have completed universities, and because I think the first home, it was open when 19 what? In
2000. In the 2000, yes.
2000.
We started with one boy.
One boy. That means there is somebody who is in university or have completed university from those homes.
Not just somebody, but he has graduated with the Bachelor of Education. He has graduated with CPA finalist. He has decided he will not seek jobs, though he can. He came back. He is managing one of our children's homes. His name is Josephat Mukubwa. And Josephat Mukubwa is the manager of Tumaini. He's managing the home. He's managing GOA Educational Center, the primary section, GOA High School, with his education. And he has grown in the same home. We have, in my office in Nairobi, Kahawa and Dani, I have 14 staff who represent the various areas.
Great team.
One of them is, his name is Cairo. Samuel Cairo is a young man that we raised through Tumaini. He is the one in charge of our video and all the videos. So anybody who goes to Bishop David Munyiri Thagana YouTube, all the videos you find there will be the work of Cairo. We brought that young man in our homes. Now he is serving internationally from Nairobi through the camera. We have Simon Dirango. Simon Dirango we also brought up in Tumaini. He is also part of the 14 in my office in Nairobi. He is the director of mental health. You remember I told you I have a chapter on my own life on mental health? And I think anybody listening to my story can begin to connect the dots, what I'm doing today with some of the experiences that the Lord enabled me to go through, most of which were painful, but they formed a foundation for changing the life of other people. So Simon Dirango is dealing with the mental health issues and he grew in our homes. We also have John Waidanje, who is assisting in the compassion area. He also grew in one of our children's homes. And many others who are serving in other homes elsewhere. We have Solomon Muragori, who is serving manager in one of our orphanages, plus many others whom God has blessed. But I agree with you. One session like this is not enough to tell everything. But let me summarize it this way, Anthony. Today,
before you do that, beat the drum.
Beat the drum. Thank you. That is
why I'm saying we need a session talking about homes only.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And each home is a story.
Each home is a story.
How
many homes?
The homes are 8. The homes are 8. 790 children have passed through our hands. Some of them whom I'm talking about have finished. They are working. They are connecting with their family life. And they have discovered their purpose. Right now, as we speak, I have children who need 324 sponsorships of $39 each to be able to feed and remain in those homes, because that is the way that that is the way that we are able to take care of those children. So and God has blessed us so much that we have created an organization here in the United States. And the organization we have here in the United States is called GOA USA. GOA USA is the one that helps us to process the donations of the children and any other donation. If you went to the www.goausa.org, that would give you a link where you can choose a child and you sponsor the child right there. Even if you don't meet with me in person, just going to www.goausa.org, you will find a child there of your choice and you will sponsor that child. If you went to the goaweb.org, the general website for the entire organization, GOA International, you will find all the things that have opportunities for you to be involved. And that is why it's a great thing for us to be on this media show, because as I said earlier, I feel called to connect somebody with the resources who wants to make a difference, to connect them with a need in Africa. Anthony, this year is a year of open doors for GOA, and God has opened many doors for us.
Yes.
As we speak, GOA has a presence in the entire continent.
Yes.
Half of the continent. Tomorrow we can get into any nation in Africa. We have 27 nations there, half of the 54 where we are connected with. This year,
yes,
I started my ministry in Zanzibar. A place that people only know because of being a tourist destination, but don't know the struggles that the church is going through in Zanzibar. That's why I'm saying those are other chapters. And where we were doing the training in a church, that church has been destroyed 3 times. 3 times. They built it, permanent church with stones. Our friends, I don't want to mention them here, our friends and who conflict with us in matters of faith, they come and pull it down. They come and build it again. They come and pull it down.
Now this is which country?
Zanzibar. That's where I started.
And you have not mentioned Congo.
I have not mentioned Congo. I was talking about this here because I realized that that you want me to summarize. Congo, God is, we have GOA Congo. In GOA Congo,
I saw that.
The headquarters of GOA in Congo is in Goma. Goma, that's where our headquarters is for GOA in Congo. Legally registered and operating in the entire Congo. Our bishop there in Congo is called Bishop Varale Kitwana. Bishop Varale Kitwana is located in Goma. He is a man that God has given a lot of influence in the whole of Congo. His background, he used to be very much in the office of the governor, and he used to be a right-hand man of the governor. So, and that's why I said every experience is important. So, and his son, Paul Shimbari Kitwana, has decided, a very brilliant boy, the parents wanted him to do biology and study other lines, but he said, I want to go to a Bible school and serve this vision of GOA. The young man has just graduated last month in theology in Goma.
Wow.
And
I followed you on your Facebook, and I found there was a time you wanted to go and baptize people. I can't remember which country. You told us to pray for you because you don't know if you're gonna go and baptize them and never come back.
That is my lifestyle. It is not one time, and I thank you for that time that you followed, but I survive through the prayers of some whom I know, some whom I don't know, prayers of friends like you. I survive through the support of prayer, of finances from partners like you around the world, and I have been exposed to those kind of nations. I was telling you about Zanzibar. Even to get there and for me to complete 1 week training, it is risky, very, very risky. From there, I went to Rwanda. During that week, when I was in Rwanda, just this year, 1,400 churches were closed. 1,450 churches were closed.
In Rwanda?
In Rwanda, because...
Was Goa one of them?
Goa was one of them.
Oh.
And but we are working hard, and through the support that we will receive in this trip, we will be able to meet the requirements. The government in Rwanda wants high-level buildings, like what you have here in the States. That's all they want. They want you build a nice, big church, beautiful. You put air condition, like you have here in the States. You put parking, nice parking, like you all have here in the States. You put air condition. You put alestas for lightning. They want you to have a spacious, the church building to be on a spacious, at least 1 acre of land. They to put your. They want the pastors to have degrees in theology. Ironically, you know Africa, and people are struggling with food. They are struggling with shoes like I was struggling. So when you tell them to go and pay theology to be trained, they as much as they are called, they don't understand what you're talking about. Others, they went into ministry like I did. Fortunately, I was a teacher. But you see, I still needed to go to East Africa School of Theology in Buruburu, even though I was a teacher. But how many people of the pastors that I know in Africa can afford to resign from their job where they get payment like I did, then they go to East Africa School of Theology and pay for theology so that they can meet a requirement of the government to have a degree in theology. And the reason I was able to do that is because I had saved some money as a teacher, plus as I continued casting my vision, many people started coming alongside me. Even when I decided that I want to focus on the area of leadership, because the continent of Africa suffers from leadership crisis, whether it is political leadership, whether it is church leadership. The African continent has bigger leadership challenges than even economic. And that is why you'll find that when a leader, like a president of a country in Africa, when their term of office is almost over, the quickest thing is to mobilize people to change the constitution so that they can remain longer. Because if they remain with the constitution that is existing, then they have already completed their terms of service. Now those problems may look like they are in the politics, but they are inherent in our African tradition, whereby once we sit on a chair of leadership like this, it is until death do us part. We do not want to leave. We do not want to move. So to summarize the continent of Africa, we have a presence in 27 nations out of the 54. Yeah. I went to Zanzibar this year. I went to Rwanda. Churches are being closed. All they need is somebody who will fund them financially to meet the requirements of the government. And this is not only in Rwanda, even in Kenya. Those who are watching this from Kenya, you know the panic that is there right now about the churches being closed, the regulations, all that. But when you look at those regulations, as much as we are opposing them, and as much that personally I am in the forefront of leading the Federation of Evangelical Indigenous Christian Churches to say no to those kind of requirements in our country, because we know the danger that they could bring, even if they are well intentioned, even if they mean well. We know the danger they could bring if they are actually in the hands of the wrong people. So we are outrightly and without any apologies saying no to those kind of regulations and those policies. As much as we participated in the presidential task force and gave our views, we feel like we are entrusting the church in the hands of non-believers through the Mungatana bill to bring in some regulations, which is a recipe for curtailing our freedoms in the future. However, this is a very delicate ground because we also know the dangers that are brought by people who have not gone through theological training.
Like Shakahora.
We know that, like Shakahora and many others. Shakahora is only one because it hit the international news.
Yes.
There are many others. In fact, there are worse things that are going on, performed by our own brothers and sisters.
Even here in America.
In the ministry.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, and this is what I feel called to, in the entire continent of Africa, is how do we take the goodwill of a person who never got the opportunity because of circumstances beyond their control to go through education. They never got the opportunity to get that theological education. They cannot today prioritize paying theological school to get a degree, or even they may not be at an age where they can do it, but they have a call. God has called them. How do we help those people learn at their own pace, wherever they are, and meet those requirements? How can we help in funding theological education, and how can we help holistically? They build the church that meets the regulations that the government wants. They get the proper governance. They meet the theological requirements and whatever else. That is what I feel called to do. And for GOA, even if today the government of Kenya was going to pass that bill, and they say we go that direction, GOA would not be affected because we have met all those requirements. And we did not meet those requirements because of the government or the pressure. Because of leadership. Yes. And we have met those requirements because, as I told you in the beginning, I did not want to create just any other ministry, or simply because I feel called, I jump into the street and I start preaching. Yes. I wanted to create a movement of a church that meets all the legal framework, that has the right governance. Anthony, we do an annual audit. It's GOA. Independent auditors who comes and we leave them in our office. They look at our books. Yes. They scrutinize the books. the board that is over me,
I wanted to go there.
the board that is over me, we have members, professional, highly qualified, who are not necessarily GOA members.
Who are like a private entity.
Yes, so that they can help us with their experience. We have some people there who are doing great things, like Andrew Moirore Guru Andrew Moirore Guru is the chairman currently of GOA board. He is a big business entrepreneur. He is the one with the only warm water swimming pool in Nyandarua County, in Kinangop. I mean, Anthony, you want to have a man like Andrew in your board, if not for anything else, to tap into the knowledge and experience. How do you create a warm water swimming pool in Kinangop where people are dying because of cold, and not only create it, also get customers to come from the US and elsewhere to that hotel, dive in?
Yes, when I listened to that man, I came to realize he has an independent mind.
Yes. Now those are the people that I need in the board.
When I saw that you have a board, I have an independent board that can criticize you with love.
Yes.
Tell you when you are outside the track, when you are not meeting the threshold according to the vision. I want to, from that, I want to ask you a question. Is modern church doing enough when we come to helping their communities? Because there is a narrative outside there. They are saying that the church is minting, like making sure they are getting out everything, to the poor people, from the poor people.
Anthony, if you go back to where we started, and I repeat this again, there were enough churches in Nyandarua County.
Yes.
I would have just joined one of them.
Yes.
And as I said, I am that kind of a person who, from an evangelistic point, who was not really interested in becoming a bishop of a church or creating a church. But I saw the vacuum. I saw the gap.
Yes.
And the gap I saw is what you have just raised now. Because that problem was still there, even then, where the people look at a church as, some people look at a church, some people, let me say so, some people look at a church as a job.
Yes.
They were not fortunate like me to become a teacher where you are earning and you are succeeding, you have a salary, and you are doing well, you have the potential to be promoted and become whatever, because you are succeeding. They never had that opportunity, what Apostle Paul calls tent making, where you can do something for income and still continue. They were not fortunate enough to have their parents sacrifice, or even maybe they don't have them, to give them basic education so that they could, in addition to the calling that God has given them, intelligibly be able to look at the Bible, leave alone to study the word and break the word properly. So we have those people, and there are many. It is our continent. That's where we are coming from. We cannot deny and we cannot rule out that there are people whom God calls and gives a vision and ministry when they have little education or none. And some of those are the people who have led us to where we are now, where we have that narrative that you have talked about. Because you can only give what you have. If this person has never been to school, but God called them, they love the Lord, they are passionate, they started their ministry. Probably out of charisma, the ministry has grown. Or maybe out of something else, maybe somebody, God connected them with a financier who came and added the passion and the call with the financing, and they were able maybe to be in the media or to be somewhere where they have grown. We can't rule out that we have that. But that is also coming with a lot of danger. And the danger is, some of those people probably will be more visible, because probably they have the resources to make them visible. Some of those people They may have that charisma that draws the people to them. So to separate the genuine and the fake is a big problem. To separate the real from the unreal, to separate the true from the false in the field of clergy and field of ministry and operations in Africa, not just Kenya. I'm talking about Africa because I'm the director of International Leadership Institute in all the countries that speak English and Swahili. So this is my experience and my lesson in the different nations, and not even as a presiding bishop of GOA of the 7 churches of the churches in the 7 countries, not even as a general secretary of all the Federation of Evangelical and Indigenous Churches in Kenya, which I represent, but in all those fields that I represent in the continent, in Kenya, I know we have genuine people whom God called,
Yes.
give them a passion, their ministry is thriving. And they are genuine. I also know we have fake. We have people who came to the ministry because it was the easiest thing to do. And some will even say it without knowing
Fear.
without knowing what they are saying.
Okay.
They will say, mimi nilikosa kitu ingine ya kufanya nikaingia kwa huduma or mimi sikusoma or and then they are going to lay their ministry on the foundation of the fact that God does not call the qualified, which is true, but he qualifies those he calls, which is also true. And they are going now to take the line of God uses the blunt tools. But they are only there because that is they see it as a job. It's not a ministry, it's not a calling. But that is what they thought it was easy. Today, which is very unfortunate. And it's very sad for me to say that on camera as a man who is the director of those countries and federation and all that. But it's sad for me to say that today there are people who are in ministry in Africa to make money, to exploit and use every aspect of exploitation because they have nothing else to do. And they are making it and they are succeeding it. And unfortunately, they are able to pull a crowd which, when things go slightly the wrong direction, like Shakahora or any other, when things go slightly, the crowd they have pulled in the same measure of the huge crowds through their charisma or whatever other things they use, the damage is as huge as that. And therefore the damage control, it becomes very difficult because, and that's why now, on one side, people like me who are in a position of speaking for churches, like the general secretary of all those churches, sometimes we find ourselves in a very delicate balance because all that is true. There are dangers, and we have seen them, not once, not twice. Anthony, I have personally gone to convince some leaders somewhere in the country to let their children go to hospital. And I have gone there because people know me in the media, so they will call me from the media and say, oh, we listen to, please come to this village. We have a pastor there, the children have been locked. He has refused them to go to hospital because he is saying that God will heal them and they are dying. I've been called to go and intervene in my capacity as a national leader in a situation where a pastor is refusing their members to be counted during census because that is earthly, that is worldly, that is demonic.
Oh my God.
And I've been called there to go and intervene. I have found myself in those kind of situations. And the problem is, when I get there, that pastor may not look at me as the general secretary of the Federation of Churches. He may look at me as a fellow competitor because I am the bishop of GOA. So he's likely to look at me and say, oh, my church is bigger than his, or I have more, or he's jealous or something like that, which makes it very complicated then to be able to help a person like that. Obviously, we still help them eventually. But the point I'm making here to your question, the perspective and the narrative that the church exists to mint money and to exploit people. It's not a good narrative, but it is, to one extent, there are people who do that, and you cannot deny it. Sadly, bad news spread faster than good news.
Yes.
So those who do that have more visibility.
Especially
that is
in
why,
social media.
Yes, that's why Shakahora, now everybody in the world knows Shakahora. And some people think that Shakahora is the church. Even the government, when we speak to them, we tell them Shakahora is not church. So don't use that as an example of church, that churches are killing people, because that is not what church is. And there's only one question. When I was first invited, immediately when this happened, the first day before the news spread, when I was invited by Kenya Broadcasting Corporation television to go and do an interview like this, before even the news spread about Shakahora, they asked me, do you agree that now the government has enough basis to regulate churches? Because of this people are dying, and that was the question. And I said, I still don't agree. I still don't. My condolences to those who have died. Apologies to those who have been affected by the insult of what church is meant to be. But I still do not believe that the government is the institution that exists to regulate churches, because I strongly believe that churches should regulate themselves, which is what we call umbrella bodies. That through umbrella bodies, the government can be able to get to know what churches are doing, and we can be able to stop some of those issues.
Yes, and even cross some of those churches.
Yeah, and I asked the question on that, and I have asked it before, again in many medias. If a rat comes to your house, and maybe the people in the United States might not understand about rats coming into the homes, or mice from outside. Do you burn the house? Do you go and run and look for petrol and fire, and you burn the house, telling everybody, oh, there's a mice, there's a rat in my house, now I burn it? Or do you find traps, catch the mice, get the mice or the rat out of the house, or use whatever the things that you can use to poison the rat? That is the situation. When bad seeds and bad people infiltrate the church in Africa, and not only in Africa, because the same things even in the United States happen. I think we have a story here which is more or less like Shakahora, of how people died in this big advanced nation some time back in history. So when there is a problem like that, it should not be used as a reason for closing down churches. What needs to happen is churches come together through the various umbrella bodies and put up structures that can prevent that from happening in the future.
Yes, we have only 5 minutes. And I remember the first time I came to visit you on a mission, we came to Karima. And when we came to Karima Girls, I remember you had a land. It was how many acres, 1 or 2?
My personal land?
Yes.
2 acres.
You had 2 acres.
Yes.
That you bought when you were working at Karima Girls.
Yes.
And I came to know, it came to my attention that you gave that land out. Now, how did your family took that on? Somewhere?
Well,
Because that is the only thing I knew you had.
Anthony, let me tell you, from the conversations that we are having of the motivation why people are doing church today or they are in ministry, and why I wanted to start GOA and do what I do today. That can tell you why I gave out my land or my house for that matter, because I just want lives to be changed.
Yes.
I just want lives to be changed. And as I want the lives to be changed, it came to a time when we had nothing in the ministry. We had nothing. You hear we were starting the church in a bar, and even raising 700 per month was a little problem. It was taking all the salary as a teacher from Kareithi, from myself, from principal, from a few other staff. You know the story that I worked for 9 years. I couldn't even afford a bicycle when I was a teacher, because my retro salary as a teacher is the same one. I'm paying rent, I'm going to missions in with the Nyandaro evangelistic team and all that. So through that, and that's how Miracle One story of the bicycle came. and now we are not there. People will read about it. People will read about it in the book.
Yes,
or
yes.
in the next interview if you organize it.
Yes.
So it reached a point whereby now we were to go to Nairobi because the ministry had expanded. Remember when God called us in 1991, he said clearly to us, Matthew 28, 19 and 20 is going to be your vision, is going to be your calling, is going to be your motivation. So, which clearly is the Great Commission. And we were clear, our mandate is to go. We were clear it is to go to the nations. We were clear we were going there to make disciples, not new converts. We teaching people to obey everything. We were very clear that God was going to be with us. Verse 20. We were very clear on our mandate. Now, when we started, it became necessary to move to Nairobi, to be strategically located, to reach the nations. And nations here do not only mean geographical boundaries like America and others. It also meant even people groups. Another topic for another day. People groups like Samburu, like Turkanas, people like that, people groups, unleashed, least reached, marginalized. That so those kind of people. The work that Reverend Peter Wagura is doing in Garisen, our bishop for North Coast, all the great work that he's doing there, those people groups there, the Alma, the Bulges, all the people that he's reaching out there and connecting with them with education, connecting them with an opportunity to serve and to learn. Girls in the schools, the PPIs that he's doing there, helping the children. And by the way, Peter Wagura is one of those whom I'm very, very proud about, with his wife Lydia. And the ordinations that you are telling me about, I was so excited to go ordain his wife Lydia as a reverend, and Pastor Esther there as pastor for children. So let me put it this way: to reach out, to do what God has called us to do today, we need people to support us. And I'm glad that you have brought me to this show. And I believe that there is one of the viewers who want to connect with us. And I would really want to encourage the viewers in your show to follow up what we do in social media. Bishop David Munyiri Thagana.
Yes.
The YouTube.
You're going to put it there.
The Bishop David Munyiri Thagana, Facebook, YouTube, Glory Outreach Assembly. And for those who live in the US, if you can go to GOA USA website, GOAUSA.org, and you want to sponsor a child, you will find there sponsor a child. Just click on that link, $39. We need 324 sponsorships. And Bright Point for Children here in Georgia, it's an organization that helps us to process all that through GOA USA. And then they said that support to Kenya. So that is easy.
That's great, because it is accountability and integrity.
Yes.
And as I listened to you many times, and you talk about faithful stewardship.
Exactly, yes. And that is what has brought us this far, Anthony. So here in the US, it is possible to send our support to GOA USA.
Yeah.
And it is in
dollars,
the website, in dollars.
Yes.
And they receive it, and they are also a 501(c)(3) tax exempt organization.
Yes.
Anybody going to goausa.org will be able to find or Glory Outreach USA. If you load that check and you send it to the mailing address in Marietta, Georgia, and which is a PO box 672 935 Marietta, Georgia, 3006. That is an email where we receive checks from people we don't know at the GOA USA, PO box 672 935 Marietta, Georgia, 30006, or even going simply to the goausa.org, or even going to our bigger website of goaweb.org, or Bishop David Munyiri Thagana, all those channels through which one can reach us. And when we receive the support, we are capable of using it the way it should, because we have an accountability system here in the US. Even here in the US, we have a board of people that ask hard questions.
Yeah,
And
volunteers.
The volunteers.
Okay.
Volunteers. We, in fact, even in this trip, I am looking for volunteers who can just volunteer and make a team of people who can be organizing meetings for us, because sometimes it is very demanding for me to do like what I did yesterday, coming here. We are looking for volunteers, people who can be getting the stories from where we are and connecting them with a channel like this one, so that more people can read it. This past Sunday, I was really excited to see a church in Calhoun in Georgia called Crane Ita Community Church. They created a missions dashboard whereby for GOA, they are our partners. They created a missions church dashboard where you can just touch the button on the screen, and then it takes you to read our GOA newsletters, which are monthly, to watch our YouTube stories in my channel or the ministry channel, and very interesting that you can still be able to click there, and it takes you to sponsor a child right from where you are, right from your phone, without necessarily having to have a child sponsorship packet like this. These packets are good for people who wants to see and touch, and then filling a form like this and leaving it with our Marietta people. So we are a accountable organization. Here we are Glory Outreach Assembly is a 501(c) organization with an independent board, which receives, we have volunteers even who do our accounting and give people tax exemptions for free where they do that. We have very dedicated people who just help. Then in Nairobi, we have a team of 14 people, including a strong financial office there of people who are helping us to meet the independent auditors and pass. Actually, we have just completed the audit for this last financial year. Our financial year starts on 1st of March every year, and on 1st of April, and ends on 31st of every year. And we have the kind of board that you saw, which has even members who are not necessarily GOA members.
Yes,
some are from Anglican Church, like Wakiri, the legal team that we have there. Lillian is an Anglican, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Kidinji is another advocate in the same board, a lecturer in the University of Nairobi for 13 years, with also his form cost-wise for survey. People like Damales who have specialized in tax. People like Dennis who have specialized in finance. We have a board. People like Reverend Fred. Allow me to talk about Reverend Fred, this, because maybe the viewer here might want to help Fred. Fred is a young man who came to GOA to do internship from Kenyatta University. And that's another area that we can talk another time, that GOA provides internships. And then we mentor and nurture those those young people to become great people. One of them is Fred. The other one is Paul Maina Mwangi, who is the director of sports, whom God has used to introduce new sports in the country, and they have been adopted by the government. He just completed hosting an African championships for floorball.
Oh,
yes.
Talk about sports.
Sports we haven't talked.
Evangelism,
That's the area where again God has given us breakthrough with the young people. Remember, I told you I was not just creating another church. I wanted a church that is relevant, especially to the 72% of the Kenyan population who are below 35 years. People who have found the church to be irrelevant. Just a place you go on Sunday and crap and do things as usual. They can even tell you how the program will look like next Sunday. People where the youth are not, their gifts are not recognized. Personally, I wanted to create a movement which makes the church relevant to all the ages, particularly the youth below 35 years, so that when we lead them to Christ, by having programs where they can use their creativity like sports, and we are huge on sports. Our teams are doing great. We tell them, we share with them, and what we want is to discover what their gifting is. And then we develop the gifts they have. And then we deploy those gifts wherever they are needed. We are motivated by our 3Ds mission. We lead them to Christ. We discover, first D, their talent and gifting. We help them develop it through mentorship and coaching. And then once we have developed it, we deploy it to where it is needed. We have deployed some of the gifts of these children to play in the national teams, like the Harambee Starlet. One of our girls from Githurai just connected through our sports. Now she's playing in the national team of Harambee Starlet. Others are going to national events. Even here in the States, yes.
Even skating.
Yes, we brought the game from Switzerland and Sweden, Europe, through Paul. And now it is, we are the champions in Africa, and we hosted it last month through Paul's, and another one called Lolbo, where we are the world champions. And all these events are things that are meant to creatively respond to the Great Commission. That is the
and
point.
This is church.
Creatively respond. That is church. Creatively respond. That's why I told you.
Holistic.
Yes, we did not want to just create another.
Just be spiritual.
No. We did not want to be, when people think of church, they just think of Sunday. No. We wanted people to think of church as an everyday, every place lifestyle.
Every
Every day, every time, every age. Every talent,
every skill,
influencing the 7 mountains of influence, be it education, be it business, be it family, be it whatever it is. That is what we needed. Right now, you know what I need, Anthony? I'm looking for business people. Business people who will help.
That is another chapter. I think what we're gonna do,
yes,
we're gonna talk with the director.
Yes.
If we find favor with him,
yes,
he's gonna give us. We need time just to talk now.
Yes.
Because you have a lot. You just have a well of wisdom. You actually, I'm gonna sit down again and listen to this interview. Because
Thank you.
I had many new words, many meaning with things like criticizing with love, harsh, being hard in love. I never knew there is something like that. You can tell something hard truth, but with love. All those things, touching lives, changing lives, giving your own land, which that was your only family. You could only, it was like Thagana's inheritance. You give it out.
Not only so my rad, Anthony.
I know you have
my first car. Whom did I give my first car?
Yes, your first car. I remember.
I gave it to Justice Chege, who is today the manager of Children's Home.
Yeah. I
gave him my first car. My second car I gave to Pastor Josephat Moremi of Mokuru Church in Nairobi. It is not, you know, this life is not about material things. This life is about investing for eternity. We invest our lives. We invest our material things. That's why I said, and I repeat it again, that I feel like personally I exist to connect resources from all over the world to the needs, particularly in the continent of Africa. Next month, I will take the gospel to some of the places you can't believe.
Where?
I will take the gospel to Somaliland. This will be my second time there. Next month, I will also go to Djibouti. I don't want to talk about those trips, but let me just say the first time I went there, it's only the prayers that saved me and rescued me. We have the opportunity within the 27 nations and beyond of the continent of Africa to go north and to take the gospel to the persecuted church, to those people who are worshiping underground. Those are the people that I will be empowering next month. All this can be supported by people by going to GOA website, either goausa.org, writing a check or clicking a donation.
It is on the huddle. You can see it. It is on your screen.
And anybody who wants to reach me, I have no problem giving you my number. You can just call me here at 470-905-9206. That's my US phone. I carry it with me. Anybody who would want to call me, we can talk. But you can also connect with me through...
It's on the screen.
All right, thank you very much. And you can also connect with me. It looks like our show is coming to the end, and I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I am only getting started to tell you the story.
Yes, I know that. That is why we talk with the director and make sure that we have another session before you leave. And we have 324 kids, children. They need your sponsorship. They need you. $39 only per month for a whole year, or either 2 years, 4 years, or 10 years. God bless you. 324 children today. They are in 8 homes in Kenya that is led by our bishop. Thagana. Kindly contact him. Everything is on your screen. Connect yourself with the real need. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Amen.
I have so many friends that I did not greet in America, but in Arizona, in where many.
I think what we'll do, we'll have another session.
Yes.
Where I'll add few people.
Yes.
You can have a conversation.
Thank you.
And talk more, because I can see you have a lot.
Thank you.
There is a very new.
Asante sana. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Now the man needs to take our picture together so that we can right here on this studio.
It was also
yes. Motto. Mchezo wetu ni lazima nimbebe kwa screen. Thank you. Oh, that's good. That's good. Thank you.
Mimi wake siku zote.
That's what I do in the